So people may be asking, will the real estate bubble pop? I'm going to provide that answer with some proven economic facts so that way you can make the best real estate decisions. But before I do that, I wanted to point out that if you stay tuned to the end of the video, I'm going to explain how the $0 down payment options work for 1 to 4 unit homes. If you're interested in learning more, be sure to text PLAN to the number on the screen, 504-535-4353. When most people ask that question, will the real estate bubble pop? What they're referencing is going back in time to the years between 2005 to 2008, where we fell into an economic crisis of sorts that was fueled by really unhealthy, dangerous practices within the mortgage industry, where there were a lot of predatory mortgages and a lot of high risk mortgages. And those things have since been remedied. Now, how have they been remedied? Well, it had to do with government policy. There were federal regulations put in place in which a conforming mortgage must follow. So there are two families of mortgages. There are the conforming and the non-conforming. So if you're getting you a conforming mortgage, it's going to follow the federal guidelines, making it safer for you as the borrower. So number one, that is one reason to say that the real estate bubble will not happen again, because measures have been put in place to prevent those high risk mortgages. Now, another factor is price, and that's what you see on the screen right now. So for the past 10 years, this is a chart that shows you the trajectory of the average price of homes in the New Orleans market. Now, this trend remains pretty consistent no matter what market you may be listening to this video from, because as you can see, it starts out at 165,000 as the average price of a property in 2015, whereas today the average price is 275,000. Now, this is taking into consideration everything that was listed, from the home that is completely busted and it needed total renovation and rebuild, all the way to the brand new construction homes, and it just kind of averages them out. But the point is still proven. You had a approximately 40 to 60% increase in home values in 10 years. That is significant. And that has remained true and steady. You can go all the way back to homes purchased in 1980. Look at how much they increased by 1990, from 1990 to 2000, and so on. So these are two major indicators that a real estate bubble is not going to happen. Now, what you will see is more localized drops in prices where things become a little bit more affordable, but by and large, it's going to continue to increase. You can see here on the chart where prices kind of go up and down inside of any given year. However, the trend tends to go upward, right? So you might take advantage of a slight dip that you may see around the December timeframe. Maybe prices dropped a little bit, but then you check in a few more months and prices have gone up. So you might get advantage of those, but if you don't buy today, you're missing out on a lot of equity growth potential. So chances are you're probably someone who is currently renting, or perhaps you have friends that are renting and maybe you currently own a home and you were checking this out to see what the truth was about the real estate market. And so you may be asking yourself, well, God, if I'm renting, my rent has obviously gone up in the same time frame to compensate for that 40 to 60% increase in property value. Now, you may have lower rent if somebody has owned their home or the property for a really long time and they're not paying on a mortgage. A lot of those folks will give like rent discounts and things like that. But by and large, as expenses go up for owning property, the rents that people charge also go up. And other thing to be aware of before I talk about these $0 down payment mortgages, I just mentioned the thing about loss of equity. So for example, if you're paying, let's say $1,500 a month in rent right now, that is $1,500 a month that could be applied to your wealth, because every time you make a mortgage payment, that's the biggest difference between rent and a mortgage, is that your rent is going into someone else's pocket, whereas your mortgage payment is literally an investment into your future wealth, because you're increasing the amount of equity you have in your home so that if you decided to sell it, you would be able to get that money back, right? So when you pay rent, you're not getting that back, right? You're never going to get that back. But if you're paying on your mortgage, you're putting money into essentially an account that is going to give you back that amount of money and much more, as we saw with the increase in values from 40 to 60% increase within 10 years. Now, besides that, maybe you don't want to sell your home, right? But you do have the advantages of creating a line of credit. Now, a line of credit is beautiful because you can establish a line of credit based on the value of your home. So, for example, that 40 to 60% increase in value in 10 years could be used to create, say, a $50,000 line of credit that you can then hold on to and use when you need it. You can use it for education expenses. You can use it for upkeep and repair of the home. You can use it for travel. You can use it for investing in business, right? If you have a business or you want to have a business, you can fund your own business without having to ask the bank for it. If you have a repair on your car that you need, or some people have used their lines of credit to pay off their car because what it charges them is less than what their car note is, right? There's so many different ways that your home can be a financial asset. And maybe you're not sure what the options are, but let's talk about it. Let's figure it out together. Now, with that being said, also, there's a misconception because apparently 70% of people in the country believe that you need to have 10% down to buy a home. That is not true. There are most mortgages you can get either $0 down payment. You could choose to do a 3% or a 3.5% down payment. Some people do a 5% down payment. It's really up to you as the individual. What I like to do is to sit with you and the lender and ask for scenario options, like put the options on paper where we could see it in black and white print. You can see, okay, this is the cost of each of these options. So if I choose to get a $0 down payment option, this is what it costs. If I do the 3% down payment, this is what it costs, right? Making it understandable and digestible for yourself. So what that means is, even if you don't have enough to do the larger down payment, you can take advantage of these $0 down um, payment mortgages. And as you can see here, it says for 1 to 4 unit homes. So that means that you don't only have to buy a single family home that you live in the whole house. You could buy a 2 unit or 3 unit or 4 unit property where you can have income coming in from the property and you can live in one of the units. And that's what I did. That was my first property. Was I still own it. It is a 3 unit property, and I still use one of the units and rent out the other two. That is what a lot of my clients started out with as well. And so that's a great option. But then many of my clients do buy the single family homes. And just the idea that they're having that $0 down payment entry, that lower cost entry to get started with this wealth growth, right? This is a way of increasing your net worth. When you hear about the net worth numbers, when they talk about such and such group has this much net worth compared to this other group, right? It is the biggest part of it is real estate ownership. So it's an easy way to increase your net worth. It's an easy way to create stability for your home. It is an easier way to generate like wealth growth, like I mentioned, like for equity and investment for yourself and for others in your home. There's so many benefits. Additional benefits, tax breaks. So maybe you didn't know this, but especially for self-employed people, this is usually a big benefit for self-employed people. But if you have a W-2 job for you too, is that there are tax breaks every year on the interest that you've paid on your mortgage. So you're going to get a 1098 every year, and you'll be able to do a tax deduction based on the interest that you paid. There's also deductions for, I think, for property taxes, maybe for insurance. I'm forgetting some of it, but there's a bunch of different tax breaks available. You can also do what they call depreciation tax breaks. I don't know if it reduces the taxes or if it's a tax credit, but your tax pro will know that for you. But there's multiple ways that your home can lower your tax burden each year. There's multiple ways that your home can increase your wealth each year. And as I mentioned earlier, the stability factor, right? So knowing that you have that stable home environment where you're able to come home and feel safe and secure and comforted. The physical health and the mental health benefits are astronomical. It has been proven. You can also research that. Having stable, comfortable home spaces leads to better health outcomes for everyone involved. So that's why I'm here. This is why I'm in this industry, because I want to be a part of that process of giving more to our society, increasing stability, the stability that comes from more secure and stable home ownership. So if you're looking to learn more, I always say that it is wise to begin with a real estate plan. So let's have a conversation. Let's figure out your plan. How is it that is the best trajectory for you? What does it look like? Let's put the ABCs together. You'll know your steps. You already know what your vision is. You know what you hope for. Let's put the plan together to figure out how you can get there. Whether you get there in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, it starts with having a plan. It makes it easier and faster and smoother when we lay out some groundwork. So I'm looking forward to talking with you. As always, this is Realtor for Louisiana. Often you'll see my series called Coffee and Cues with a Real Estate Agent. Go ahead and hit up that playlist as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this anywhere else, go to YouTube, look for Realtor for Louisiana, check out the Coffee and Cues with a Real Estate Agent. I have a series there where I also interview industry experts such as like architects, mortgage people, insurance people, contractors, and bring them together to the table so that you can really hear all the information that you need personally. So once again, Coffee and Cues with a Real Estate Agent. I am Realtor for Louisiana, Jessica Bordelon, with Berkshire Hathaway, available in New Orleans and also available in the Lafayette area. Be sure to text me PLAN to the number on the screen, and we'll schedule a time to talk. And you'll have access to me, multiple conversations. It doesn't have to be just the one. Text PLAN, and I'll get you started. Peace.